I'm here at the White Spaces conference in Johannesburg talking to Henk Kleynhans, who is the chair of the Wireless Access Providers Association and the CEO of Skyrove. Henk, tell me, what exactly is WAPA, which is the Providers Association, doing in terms of TV white spaces?
So WAPA is an organisation of about 120 independent wireless operators with a lot of rural coverage. A lot of our members are in rural areas themselves, delivering access of all sorts in their communities. But the constraint is that they're having to use unlicensed frequencies, typically in 2.4 and 5.8 gigahertz frequency bands, and that there's very little protection against interference, and the standards aren't that good. And you've also got constraints in terms of your coverage area. Some of our members do phenomenally long distance links with 5.8 gigahertz, but they need line of sight. So if there's a hilltop or a building in between, they need to go and put up another high site, which involves more capex and also operational costs in management.
So what sort of distances are those members achieving on those kind of directed Wi-Fi?
I think I asked it in our forum recently, and somebody said they had a 150 kilometer link.
Ah, right, okay.
Which is, it's magic. I mean, it's almost belief defying.
Yes.
But I know of many members that do 30, 40, 50 kilometer links quite often.
So, very briefly, describe to me what TV white spaces are.
Right, so as we've been discussing at the conference today, it's effectively what you have is guard bands between your traditional television stations. So in Cape Town you might have...
guard bands are like space between.
Yeah, it's like the space between. So you'll have ETV on channel, I think, 14, and you'll have maybe SABC 1 on channel 22, channel 20, so about 6 spaces and channels in between. And traditionally people who tuned their TVs would have seen the snow effect. And that was the guard band between the two, and that's the white space that you have. Now, it's come to the fore recently internationally in the US and in the UK in particular, because broadcasters moved to using digital transmissions, and it opened up a lot of white space. But in South Africa, we actually already have a lot of white space. We don't have nearly the amount of broadcasters as they do in the US and in the UK. So we said, well, let's take the advantage of the technologies that are being built now for those markets and apply them here, but we don't actually have to wait for digital television migration.
Okay, so what's the position in terms of TV white spaces, in terms of ICASA, the regulator here? What are they, what's their attitude? What are you proposing to them?
We've actually been very impressed with ICASA's attitude, and I think we're very fortunate in that we have smart, educated ICASA counsellors with strong backgrounds in industry, in civil society, at various different levels. So the response from ICASA so far has been very positive, but ICASA does have to listen to everybody, and not just the Wireless Access Providers Association. They also regulate the broadcasters in South Africa, and the broadcasters are quite concerned. They traditionally have been doing television broadcasts, and there's a fear that television band devices are going to be causing interference with their signals. And although these fears have been addressed technologically several years ago, the FCC did trials and tests and the like, and it has been shown that you can go and deliver broadband services with TV white spaces without interfering with the broadcasters. But I think it is still very new, and we would need to show them that those fears are largely unfounded, given good regulation to start with. And so ICASA has a somewhat delicate role to play in terms of this, but I think their goals are really good. They're very clear about their mandate when it comes to broadband and increase in broadband penetration.
And what sort of devices and infrastructure do you need to deliver TV white spaces?
So there are various different radios. Currently, I know of Carlson Wireless will be shipping TV band devices very shortly, and they're saying, like, the price. They acknowledge the price right now is high, But for kit, it'll cost you just over $3,000 for a base station and a single CPE, and then probably a few $100s for CPEs. So they are still expensive compared to many other receiver technologies, but not phenomenally more so. So I think that's a very good sign. We've also now got the 802.22 standard was ratified a few months ago. I do think, though, in the short term, you're not going to see mobile TV white space devices. I think it's going to be a replacement for ADSL, or rather a good substitute in places where there is no ADSL available. It's a good last mile technology. You'll probably still need to mount something on your rooftop until a few years from now, when it probably will be something you can get on a mobile device.
And just lastly, what does Skyrove do as a WAPA?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea for Skyrove while I was studying at the University of Cape Town. This was in 2003. Wi-Fi was quite new, ADSL was quite new, and I couldn't really afford either. But I really badly wanted a broadband connection at home, and I figured if I could share with my digs mates and with my neighbours, I could make some money back. There were some hotspot systems overseas, but they were all time-based. FON came out a bit after we started with a great model where for $1 a day anybody could access the network. But our problem was that if the guy was to pay $1 a day, of which 50 cents would be shared with the person who was actually sharing the internet connection, he could be out of pocket for a few thousand rands. So we needed a way to actually do megabyte billing, and started a way to prepaid per megabyte billing, and built a router system that anybody could deploy and they could earn revenue from it. And Skyrove now has more than 700 hotspots around South Africa, and a bunch of resellers.
And that's all over South Africa?
It's all over South Africa, but given strongest in Cape Town, it's our backyard, and so we've been pushing the strongest in the city of Cape Town.
Henk, thanks for talking to me today.
Thank you very much.